Hello everyone, Peter Hewitt, la-artistino here. I'm back with part 2 of a walkthrough through all the colouring that I've done in the last 3 years. If you've missed part 1, you'll go back and find that is the previous upload that I made, so go and have a look at that. I show a lot of pictures from Joanna Basford and from Lizzie Mary Cullen, along with many others of my favourites and my earliest works. This one will continue on with a few more different artists, and hopefully I'll get through the rest of what I have to show you. We'll start off with this book by Jasmin Becker Griffith. It's her fantasy art adventure colouring book, the first book that she printed. This one was very kindly sent to me by Tiffany from overseas. She sent it along with another book. I think that was the Come Home to Colouring book, but I haven't actually done anything in that yet. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm just under a flood of different books and different things that I want to do, and I will eventually get round to it, Tiffany, and I very much appreciate that you've sent me both of them. I've got quite a number of books that have been sent to me by viewers, and I'm very grateful for each and every one of them. Anyway, we'll get started with this one. This book I have used exclusively Prismacolor pencils. I don't often use my Prismacolors because I'm not totally sold on them, but this paper it works beautifully in. And this is the first picture I think I did in this book, which is of my wounded angel. She didn't come all sort of blood specked, but I wanted to add a little bit more drama to the picture. So my idea was that she's been in some kind of a battle and she's taking a break and just weary about all the things that have been happening to her and all the terrible things that she's seen. Had a lot of fun with this. Love the Prismacolors on this paper, by the way. And I think everything I've done in here is with the Prismacolors. And this one is the Princess of Bones. Now, you can actually see the coloured version of these pictures. Jasmine's got them up online, but I deliberately steer away from them because I don't want to be influenced by her colours. I want to come up with original colour schemes. I think this is the latest picture I've done in this book, this little lily fairy. And I've gone with very calm, soft, cool green colours for this one, greens and blues. And the Loup-Garou picture. This is Red Riding Hood, I think. Oh, the French version, with Loup-Garou being French for werewolf. I've used a technique here where I have put yellow highlights on one side and purple on the other to give it a lovely dramatic dimension. And here's my little angel of the emeralds. I think I might go back in here with a white gel pen just to bring out some more of the sparkle in this one. Okay, and that's all I've done in that book. Too many books and not enough time, isn't it? Right, I will go on to this one, the Grease colouring book, which was sent to me for review and I adore. A lot of the books I review, I'll colour a few pictures and I do enjoy them, but they're often not for me. This one definitely is for me, and it sits up on my shelf waiting to be coloured in over my desk. This one is one I've done since I've did the review on this book. It's a great one just to pull down and have fun with. Again, this book is mostly coloured in with polychromos. And these other two that I've got here, I believe are ones that you saw during the review, but we'll just recap for people who haven't seen the review. Again, polychromos. I think I spoke to you about on the last video where I reviewed this, how I downloaded a lot of pictures off the internet to give me the right colours for Grease, and that's where I got this lovely, really bright blue colour, the blues and the... Just trying to make it look a bit more authentic by using the colours that you would see. And this page was a trial page for paint. I was trying out a little bit of watercolour paint to see how it would go, and it actually went very well. You can't see anything on the other side. It took the watercolour. I wouldn't go mad with the water in any of these books. It's not watercolour paper, but this book will withstand watercolour if you use it in moderation. Now we can go on to Animorphia, I think, which is Kirby Rosanes' it's not his first book. He had, I think Doodle Mania was his first book, but that was printed with the Create Space through Amazon, and I'm not a fan of that. This is his first book published in this format with this lovely thick paper. This is one of my earliest colouring in books as well. I remember seeing this one actually in my bookshop. They were just getting it ready to put out on the shelves, and I thought, I've got to get this book. It's the first time I'd come across Kirby's work, and I had to have it. I think this was Prismacolors, and this one was Polychromos. I haven't quite finished that one. I've just realised I've got to continue all the light blue up the top. Oh well, that'll take me 10 minutes. I might do that after I finish this video. Okay, now this is the book that I mostly love using my Colleen pencils in, and the Colleens work so well in this book. I pretty much use them exclusively, and I think also the Black Widow pencils, which are very, very similar to the Colleen pencils. This one took me forever. This is one of the pictures that Kirby has in here, where he's done part of the picture and he's left the rest for you to do. So this part he had his horses, and on this side he just had the waves, and I had to add all the little doodles. These are all his doodles on this side, and these are all my doodles on this side. As I said, I'm a little bit of an artist, so I had an idea how to go about making this kind of drawing. Been drawing for, oh, how old am I? Yeah, from about the time I could hold a pencil anyway. This was a lot of fun. I coloured these in with the Colleen pencils as well. This is one of my works in progress again. This has been outstanding for 2 years, I think. It's another one that I'll pick up every so often when I remember it, and I'll colour in a couple of the doodles, and then I'll put it down and start working on something else. It'll eventually get done, perhaps in another 2 years. And I've got this one. This is another one where he has left space for you to add your own drawings, and in this one he filled in some of these butterflies and others he's left blank like this. And I think this one, this one, this one, this one and this one are his doodles, and all these ones here are my doodles. If you want to see how I went about doing it, I first get a grey lead pencil and a graphite pencil, and I just make an inner line around the wings so that I have a border between the doodles and the edge of the wings, and then using the pencil I sketch out my doodles, and then I go over at the top of it with a fine liner, and then I rub out the pencil marks. I decided what I'm going to do here is not colour in any of the doodles, but colouring the background in these just splotches of colour. And again, this is something that it's probably been sitting there waiting to be finished for the last 2.5 years, and every so often I'll go back and I'll have a spurt and I'll do a bit more. It'll be finished eventually, but I'm in no hurry. And this is probably the second picture I coloured in this one. This one is all done with the Faber-Castell connector pens, you know, the kids connector pens. I think I've mentioned them before in the previous video. I've got a set with about 60 different colours of them, which I've had forever, and seriously, these markers do last forever. I think my set is about 15 years old and they all still work fine. I think there was a couple I had to chuck. But that was done exclusively with those markers and one grey Tombow, which is one of the big, expensive artist quality watercolour markers that I used to do the rhino skin, because really you couldn't use that with one of those little fine tip markers. It'll take you forever and you probably scratch out the paper. Now, I don't know. Oh, okay. Oh yes, this one. This is another one. I think I used this one in a demonstration. I think this is the one where I used to demonstrate the light and shade technique. Another double page spread. The doodles in this one were a bit bigger and thicker, so it didn't take quite so long to complete. And that's all I've done in this one. Yep. Okay, the back page, just to say, on most of my books the back page is filled with tests with different art supplies to see how they would react with the paper and see if they're viable. I found this paper's probably no good with watercolour, but anything else goes with this one. pop that one away. And while we're on Kirby Rosanes, let's continue with his next book, which was Imagimorphia, this one. Okay, the first, I didn't do the title pages, no I didn't. First one I did in here was this double page spread of the swans. I have a thing for doing the first pages in books, if you notice. It's kind of a theme. It's like almost like a challenge. I've got to get those first 2 pages done. Not in everything I do, but it seems to be most of the time when I get a book I have to do the first page first before I do anything else. Right, this one was great fun to do. Again, use the Karlzons for this. I came up with a technique to make this swan look white while still using colours, and I'll have to do a video sometime on how I colour white things, because I like to make them look interesting and alive, where it's difficult to achieve to colour in a white thing and not just make it look dirty. You just want to make it look like it's actually white but has some life to it. Anyway, enough about that, we'll keep going. What else have I done here? Oh, these are the 2 ones that I've done using Inktense. Inktense works really well in this book. Very much enjoyed it. Oh, it's a bit dirty in the centre. I'll have to get a eraser in there and clean that up. So this is Inktense for both of these mechanoids with a Faber-Castell polychromos background, just sort of like scribbled in. And there's a video up on my channel on how I achieve the metallic look as well. It's very simple. It looks very impressive, but it's not that hard to do. It's another Inktense picture, just a single side. I like the colour, the way the colours seem to work very well together in this one. I'm very pleased with it. And oh yeah, this one, the double page. This is my dingo. This was done with Faber-Castell polychromos and using pastel for the background, just with the technique of scratching some pastel dust and then rubbing it in. That's all in that one. Next I have Mythomorphia. Yeah, this picture I coloured in for the Black Widow pencils, which, as I said, work very similar to the Karlzon pencils. In fact, it's very hard to tell the difference between the 2. And this being a Kirby Rosanes book, and this particular paper they seem to be printed on, they work really, really well in it. And you can see that's all just been coloured in using these Black Widow pencils. And next is this double page spread. These were done with Faber-Castell polychromos pencils. This is one of these pictures that I just absolutely fell in love with, and I really enjoyed the entire process of colouring. Sometimes I'll be colouring a picture and I'll get to the stage where I just don't want to do it anymore. I just want to get it done, get it over with. I'm bored with it. Never happened with this picture. This picture, I was sad when I finally completed it because it was done and I couldn't do any more of it. So in future I hope to do more snow scenes like this. Really loved it. I employed a few different techniques here. I think I made a video showing how I coloured in the snow, my way of doing it. I used white gel pen. I used a Winker Stella pen for a bit of sparkle around the castle and the Frost Witch here. Now I think I've got one more in this one. I'm not colouring. Oh yeah, I've got this one which I've just started working on. Actually, I forgot about this. I started this about 4 months ago, I think. I'll have to go back and finish it now. Okay, now that I've spotted it. And this one, which I coloured in using Karlzon pencils, which I quite love. The clouds weren't part of the picture, they're a background that I've added. I wanted to experiment a bit more with mixing different colours to get special effects, like I've done here in the goblet and the hatchet here. I have got the 4th book of Kirby Rosanes, the sadly very short one. I haven't started work in that yet. I'm debating whether to get the 5th one or not, because for the price I thought we were a bit short shafted. Okay, we will go to Escape to Wonderland by Good Wives and Warriors, and this is the only one of their books that I own. It's a nice little book, so nice quick colouring in experiences, great for carrying around. This first title page was done with Faber-Castell Polychromos. It's not my favourite paper to colour on, mind you. I'm not really wrapped with it, but it's good enough. Okay, I coloured this one. This is Faber-Castell Polychromos as well. And this one, and this is the reason I haven't got any more of these books and why I'm reluctant to continue to colour in this one, is that it's falling apart, and you may just be able to see a line of adhesive tape down the middle there holding these pages in. And I've had to do that a few times with this book. This colour scheme, I will point out, isn't my colour scheme. This was a colour scheme by an Asian artist, and I cannot think of a name. I'm very sorry about that, but I just wanted to let you know this isn't an original colour scheme. I've borrowed heavily from her work here because I loved it so much. I like to be upfront. I can't think of a name, and if anybody can think of a name, can you pop it down in the comments below, please? Because I would like to credit her with it. I don't often do that, by the way, but when I do, I make sure I tell people that this isn't my work. It's just a courtesy to the original artist who came up with the colour scheme. Here, I can see what I mean here by pages falling out. I haven't been able to stick this one in because I need to colour it first before I can put the tape over the top. That was a very quick and dirty colouring I did. One of those where I didn't really feel like working too hard on it, so I just threw that together. That page is about to come out altogether, isn't it? Okay, I'll flick carefully over to here. This is a double page spread that I did with my local art club, Geelong Colourists. And this was done with Inktense pencils activated with water. And the same with this Griffin here. He's on some kind of a fold, so his paper's not about to fall out, thank goodness. That was also Inktense. And lastly, this one was just with plain old cheap watercolour markers. Again, I think this was my Faber-Castell connector pens that I put. So I wanted to do one which, I didn't have to think about. It was already pretty obvious which colours go where, and I could just sit back and enjoy the experience of colouring without having to think too hard about it. So that's the only book of that series that I've got for that, you know, reason of the paper falling out, which makes me sad because the actual artwork is gorgeous. Okay, let's go to one of the books that I intend to finish. I've got 3 books that I intend to finish, and this is one of them. This is Dagdrömmar by Hannah Karlzon, first in her series. Absolutely gorgeous, beautiful, beautiful book. And this is another one that I started with the intention of starting on the first page and working my way back to the last page, but now I've jumped all over the place. I've kind of knocked that out. I'll eventually get around to all the pictures though. Little blue mushroom to start off with. And my nameplate page with, of course, no name in it, because that's just me. My handwriting is horrible, as I said, and I don't want to ruin the book with bad handwriting. These are 2 simple pictures. I don't always do a background. In fact, I don't often do a background in my pictures. Some people always like to add beautiful, you know, backgrounds with watercolours, etc. And I do like to do that, but sometimes I just want to colour the picture. This one I think needs a background, but I may get around to doing it or I may not. I'm quite happy with the way he is. I put a lot of work into his fur texture using the technique that I've developed when I've been making my own pictures. This is both in the Polychromos. This one was all in browns, just a little challenge, like to do a picture completely using just brown colours. A limited palette challenge. These next few pages are all done with the Karlzon luminance pencils. My husband bought them for me as a surprise because I would never pay that much for pencils, but yeah, they are absolutely gorgeous, and work really, really, really well in this book. This was for a colour along with my colouring club. Again, this one, as you can see, no background, not interested in putting one in. It's fine the way it is. Same with this one. This is also Karlzon luminance pencils, and I love the way you can get this really thick deep, rich colour using those pencils on this paper. This is an example of one of the rare times where I've used a liquid blending medium. This was using the Derwent blender pens, which are kind of a marker with blender fluid in them, and I use that to dissolve Derwent Artist. I think that's grey blue colour, and I use that as a little background, a halo of a background. I quite like it. And this is the first picture I did in this book using polychromos pencils. I've got some notes on what I want to do, but I'm afraid I'm a bit of a loss with a lot of these pictures on what to do, whether to fill it out with a pattern or do something a bit different. Anyway, I'll leave it until an idea comes to me. This was an Interested Limited palette. I wanted to use unusual colours in this picture, so I picked this purple blue to do the leaves in. All the flowers are done in a muted red, and you have these gold birds. Really, really like how this one turned out. This one I used in a video to demonstrate how I colour in gems. And this is mostly coloured in with Micador Colour Rush pencils, which work quite well in this book. Here's two you may not have seen. This one here is again coloured in just using the Derwent Artist 12 pack of pencils. In my previous video I showed you some other pictures from Enchanted Forest that I've only used these pencils in as well. I like this because I can carry these around easy. They don't take up much space in my bag, and they're light, and they mix very well, so you can get a lot of variation in colours just by combining the 12 pencils. I find it's less stressful actually using that pack because there's less choice. So you say, okay, then it's pretty obvious what will go where, instead of having like a million different shades of the same pencil colour to choose from. This one I've only just completed. It's taken me a while. It's one of those ones that I've come back and forward to. Really happy with it. I just added all of the gel pen white last night, and I can see I'll have to re-add it in. Some of it has picked up the colour behind, so it's not quite as white as it should be. Or I could leave it, it's not bad. So yeah, that's my kitty. I really admired this picture when I first started colouring and this book first came out. It seemed to be a popular picture amongst colourists, and there were some absolutely gorgeous variations that were posted of this completed, and I think that intimidated me a little bit from trying it myself. And then one day I just thought, blow it, I'm going to do it my way, and I came up with this colour palette, and I'm really happy with my version of it. Now this one has got a piece of paper in because it keeps rubbing off on each side of each other. What I want to do with this one is redo the sky, and then I'll spray fixative over the top just to hold it in place, because I think it's actually lost a lot of its colour rubbing up against other piece of paper. So that one needs to be reworked, but I like the colour scheme of it. It's a ghost ship, that's my variation on it, and with all the detail down here, instead of colouring them all individual colours, I had an ombre colour palette going from a light cream yellow to a purple to make it look like the light was sort of like shining on everything. I've done quite a lot in this book. Here's another one that I've only just completed recently. This was one that I started, I hated, I just couldn't make myself do it, and then one day, I think it was just last week, I thought I'll get down and I'll get it done. No, 2 weeks ago, I'll get it done. And I did, and I think I might add a little bit more of the dark blue inside the jellyfish here, and maybe around here too, but as far as I'm concerned, it's pretty much finished. It was an experiment in outlining everything with white gel pen, and it kind of worked. I'm not unhappy with the results. I'm a lot happier than I thought I would be, because I really thought it stunk for a while. This is another very recent one that I've done, only a couple of weeks ago. I went for a long time without colouring, by the way, because I couldn't and I was also getting involved in other things, but I decided a couple of weeks ago just to jump back into it and finish off a whole pile of pictures that have been outstanding and start a couple of new ones. And this is one of the ones I started and finished over a couple of days. Now the initial background for this is actually the Neo Color 2 pastels of here's my collection. I don't have a full set, it's way too expensive for me, and I bought these about 4 or 5 years ago, so well before the colouring craze. Here anyway, I bought this little pack of 15. I can open the hinge, which gave me 15 colours, and I realised I wanted more colours, so I've slowly been buying them in 2s and 3s from a local art shop. I think there's about 120 all now of these colours that you can get, but this is enough for me. I don't think I'll add much more to this. Maybe if I find some that are lacking, I'll add to it. And they're the colours that I've actually got. So I applied those as a crayon, and then they are activated with water so you can smooth them out. And I've done that with a couple of pages in here. The rest of it has been coloured in with polychromos pencils and a bit of gel pen added for sparkles afterwards. Okay, this is one of my earliest pictures. I started this when I was staying at a bed and breakfast in Emerald, which is a very picturesque part of Victoria, in Australia where I live, and this was fun. I like this one. I like how the mushrooms came out. And there's my Soggy Froggy. He's been up on Instagram. If you follow my Instagram, you would have seen him. I used Derwent Inktense to do that rain effect in the background. And I reserved white to make the sort of like the dribbly effects as well as adding gel pan in afterwards to bring out all the splashies. Now this one I hate. Don't worry about it. I did this because there was some bleed through from the next page, and I just wanted to cover it up and get it over and done with. It's okay, but it was something that was done very quickly. This is one that I've done recently just because this page just looked naked next to that one. I've used the Neo Color 2 wax pastels to do the background. I'm thinking about trying to add some cracks or something into it, but I haven't decided yet, so I'm just going to leave it the way it is. The actual beetle was coloured in with polychromos pencils. And this one, you may have seen my speed painting of this. It'll be up on my with all my other videos. If you dig through, you'll find it. This was done using our special watercolour paint, which has been micro-infused. They're called Twinkling H2Os, and they come in little pots. We also used some ordinary watercolour, and then over the top, once I'd finished watercolouring, I added pencil to bring depth variation to the colour, and then I added lastly some white gel pen to give it all a bit of a sparkle. This one was a rather quick picture for me to do because the majority of the work was done with watercolours, which is very fast. So I think overall it was probably took me about 4 hours, I think, and that for a double page spread is lightning fast for me. This one is another one that I've done recently, and again, because there was a bit of bleed through from the previous page, I wanted to cover it up. By the way, the only thing that bled through, I'm saying this bleed through, was the purple Twinkling H2O. Everything else was fine, it's just I was getting little spots of purple through it. So I finally coloured in this just because it bothered me so much seeing all that staining from the bleed through. This again is the Neo Color 2, applied and wetted to give that nice sort of like almost like an oil painting effect, and coloured in with Faber-Castell Polychromos with a bit of white gel pen for the sparkly diamond. I've done quite a lot of them in here. My rooster, again with Polychromos pencils. Nice simple one, didn't go all out in the background with this one, I just wanted to keep it simple. And this double page, this one I did earlier, late last year actually. Now once again, this is another picture. These are not my original colours. These colours were actually by another colourist who goes by the name of Gate Natty on Instagram, and I loved her work. I asked her permission for me to post my finished work, crediting her with the colours, and she allowed me to do it. I'm very grateful. So this particular rabbit, as I said, I loved the combination of the teals and these mauves. I thought there was a stunning combination of colours along with the lemon yellows, and I had to duplicate it. The rabbit's my own design with his fur and everything, but the entire background is pretty much a copy of hers. This page I did while I was during my first admission into hospital because of the medication I was on. My concentration was pretty shot, so I used this page because I could just do one at a time and I didn't really have to think too much about it. I had a lot of fun with it. The only thing I don't like about this is the way I've done the base of that little bottle of Stardust there. It sort of stands out like a sore thumb with me. It really is poorly executed, but I can't rub it out without making it too obvious, so I'll just leave it the way it is. I'll blame the drugs. And this page is my favourite in the entire book. This one was probably a year in the making. It was another one that was so big I kept leaving it and coming back to it and leaving it and coming back to it. All done with Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils, with gel pen added later. And you may recognise this is the page that I used for the tutorial on how to colour faces and how to colour hair in a very easy way that made it look shiny. And is that all in here? I think that is, yeah, except for my back page, which again is my test page because this was the first one of these books that I'd received. Okay, now that, surprisingly, after having so many pictures drawn in that book, I've only got one done in each of these ones, which are the second and the fourth of her series. I do have the third one and I haven't done anything in it at all. Okay, I don't have her fifth one yet. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody will know and put it down in the comments, I'm sure. And the reason for that is it's available at present on Amazon, but I'll only be able to access Australian Amazon, and the range of stuff on Australian Amazon is both overpriced and very, very small. Nothing like what you guys get to enjoy. So I'm not ordering from Amazon anymore, and I'm waiting for the book to become available at the Book Depository in the UK, and I will order it from there. This one you will recognise, it's the only picture I've done in Sommernacht, and it is the grasshopper tutorial, which goes over I think 4 or 5 installments. Okay. And that is the Faber-Castell Polychromos. That's where I learnt that the light lilac-y coloured Polychromos was been discontinued. Very, very sad. But I had a lovely lady sent me a one that she'd found, so very grateful for that. This is Seasons, and again I've just got the one in here, and I did that to demonstrate the new Derwent line of pencils, the Pro Colours in here. I like them. They're more muted in colour range from the Polychromos, and I did enjoy using them there, but they're not quite the pencils I thought they would be. I thought they'd be a bit softer, and they're not. They're just a little bit softer than their main artist line, but still good. I haven't pulled them out again since, but I'll have to because I like the colour selection. That's the only one I've done in here, the chicks. Well, while we're doing the hardbacks, we will look at this one by Clara Markova. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. But I love it. It's the first one in a series. She does have a second one out, and that's absolutely gorgeous as well. So do look her up if you like this work. She has a very whimsical style. Now this one I did here. Clara sent me this book, by the way, for review purposes. I better be clear on that one. I coloured him in because one of the ladies that was at my colouring club was also colouring it in. I thought, oh, he's gorgeous. I hadn't even realised he was on the front there. With these pages together, sort of like I kind of skip them a lot of the times. And I thought he was absolutely adorable there in the buff. So I coloured him in and gave him a bit of a sunburn to teach him a lesson about being too cheeky. And the only other two I've got done in here. So again, this is one of the books I love and I have to go back to, but I'm so distracted with so many books that I think, oh, I've got to do another one in this book because I really, really love it. But yeah, I will eventually. These two that I've got, you've seen before if you have seen my review video of this book. I used Faber-Castell Polychromos with these ones, with the Koh-i-Noor Magic pencils for the background. If you remember, they're the ones that have the multiple colours in the core. Clara sent me a set of these as well, but they are triangular wooden ones, where those are the coreless ones. I like them both. And they're both the same colour range, so I'm not so worried about using them up. And this is the other one that I've done here, the Strawberry Fairy. And this one was done with coloured in with the Colleen pencils, which work really, really well in this book too. Well, this is going to be another marathon video, I'm sorry. I'll try and be a little bit quicker, see if we can get through them. Okay, there's these books I'm going to show you now. Most of them have only got a few pages completed in them. This one's Manic Botanic. This is one of the earliest books that I own as well. I've got two done in here. Both of these were coloured in using Koh-i-Noor pencils. They're woodless ones and they're magic ones. And these books are printed on the Create Space Amazon printing for people who want to print their own work without having to go through a publisher. So you want to self-publish. Don't like the paper, as you can see, it's as thin as everything, but it's printed only on one side, which is good, and it takes the Koh-i-Noor pencils brilliantly, so that's what I like to use on it. This is the other one that you might have seen. Again, I think I have it up on Instagram. I coloured this one in for the review purpose, again with the Koh-i-Noor pencils and using a Copic alcohol marker to do all that red in the background. Next we have Unwind in the Wilds. This is a book produced by Derwent, and it was sold with a set of 10 of their Coloursoft pencils. So my husband bought this one for me from the local art shop. I've done a couple in here. This is using a black Pitt pen to do the background and the Coloursoft pencils. Not my favourite pencils to use. I find they're a bit crumbly and they lose their points way too fast, but still fun. Still fun. I don't mind them too much. I'll take them out every so often and have a play with them. This one is a work in progress. I had painted on the next page, and unfortunately Colour Purple, which is the bane of me, came through onto this page. So I started working on this one because I can't bear to see a messed up page, and I forgot about it, so I haven't gone back to it, but I will go back and finish it off. What I'll probably do is I'll add in a purple background so that it'll disguise most of that bleed through. This is the page that is responsible for the bleed through. As you can see, these are painted with the Koh-i-Noor paints, little round palettes that you can get, and they come in a stack of 4. These are their intense paints, which I have a feeling are more ink than paint, because they have a paint and then they have these really bright ones, and they act like ink when they've been wetted, and they're very, very, very dense. As you can see, there's a lot of colour in them. They look great, but they bleed through this paper, so yeah, I won't use them again in this book. This is the other picture I've done in this book, again using the Coloursoft, and that's okay. That was a very quick one that I did just to try out the Coloursoft pencils. I've only got one in this one. This is a Creative Haven book. Great series of books. Anything you want to colour you will find in this series of books, I think. This one is been drawn by Marty Noble, who has quite a few Creative Haven books out. And I've only coloured in this back one. These are all Art Nouveau insects. This one I used just to test some things on, and then in the end I felt sorry for the picture and thought it deserved to be coloured and finished properly, so it has been coloured using a combination of pencils and gel pens. I've got a few of these Creative Haven books. This is the only other one that I've coloured in, and this is the first one that I got, which is Creative Cats. Moving right along. Is the one that I did with Prismacolors. I prefer Prismacolors in this book. The page just takes to the paper a bit better than Polychromos, I think. This one is incomplete. This is a combination of water-based markers, alcohol markers and pencils. It's been outstanding for about 2 years, I think. So again, another one on my list to finish. I did have, I think, over 20 at one stage, ones that I had to finish. I think I'm down to about 7 or 8 now. This one I have it's one of my very earliest YouTube videos, so it's sort of filmed sideways, but it's a speed colouring of how I went about colouring this, and it's a combination of Sharpie markers and Faber-Castell Polychromos pencils. Lots of detail in there, but I think it took me about 5 hours, I think, to finish this one. And the last one that I've done in here is this typewriter kitty. Combination of Sharpie markers, Copic markers, water-based markers, gel pens, pencils, mostly Prismacolor pencils, I think. Yeah, so mixed media, true mixed media page, and a lot of fun. Lots and lots of different details. I think one of the problems with these pages that have got lots of messy details in is you're kind of stuck, okay, which colour do I do next? That's why I like working with a limited palette. This one is one my husband bought for me. Now, you may know already that I am a World of Warcraft player. World of Warcraft is an online game which can be played, or is played simultaneously by millions of people around the world. And I've been a player since it was first came out about 11 years ago. Anyway, so he bought me this one, and I've only coloured in the one picture in this one, and that is the leader of the trolls, and I can't think of his name. Sorry, all you Horde players, I'm Alliance. So he was the leader of the Horde for a while. Anyway, his colours are all accurate. I'll look them up. This, by the way, is great paper to work on. You see, I've put a lot of layers and detail in that using the Polychromos pencils, and there's nothing on the other page. This I can recommend for anybody who likes gaming. This is a really, really, really good, high quality colouring book with great paper. And there are colour plates at the front, so you can see what the original art looked like before it was reduced to line art too. Wildscapes. This one is again one of my oldest colouring books. This is by Stephanie Home, who is an Australian artist, and she put this book together based on different animals and plants and birds and insects of Australia. And I love this book. This is beautifully put together. It's got really great paper, and unfortunately I haven't done very many in here. Again, too many books, too little time. I love this because I'm experimenting with more realistic colouring techniques in here with the fur and bark and the fauna and flora in this. These are numbats, which are a native animal. These are all native to Australia, everything in here. A couple of numbats, and the next one I've started and I completely forgot about, so I'll have to get back and finish it now, is these echidna. And there's 3 echidna. Again, I am colouring them realistically, which is a really nice challenge. This is beautiful paper for colouring, by the way. It's really a good quality book. And these are Eastern Rosellas. We don't see many of these down our end. We see a lot of the crimson rosellas and rainbow lorikeets. There we go. But again, a lot of fun, and this is all coloured in accurately. There's heaps. And the other nice thing about this book is she's got a at the back she's got all the different birds and reptiles and animals and things with what they are. So you can, if you want to be accurate with the pictures, you can pick out which one you're colouring in. Go have Google, see if you can find a photo of it on the line, which of course you will, and then you can do the colours accurately. Legendary Landscapes. This is one of 2 of these beautiful Canadian created colouring books. These were a Kickstarter, I believe. I wasn't in on the first one, but I was in on the second one. I've only coloured in this one. They're great books, beautiful paper, etc. My only problem with colouring is they are huge, absolutely huge pictures, so they take quite a bit longer. In fact, they're so big, I'm going to have to draw out a little bit. There you go, so you can see all of them. I've only done a couple in this book. First one is this picture of salmon jumping there. This, by the way, I should mention, it's a collection of Canadian artists have got together, so there are lots of different art styles in here and different themes. It's loosely grouped into theme, but it's a lovely variation. Paper's great. It's just very, very big. This one was coloured with Prismacolors, and this one here, I wanted to see how water-based markers went on here. So this has been coloured with Tombow markers along with other things. What else did I use? I used other different sorts of markers, and I also used polychromos pencils. That's right. I'm not really happy about how I did the Northern Lights in it, but it was an experiment, and as you can see with this paper, nothing at all bled through of everything that I did. So lovely, you can hear it's lovely thick paper. The last one I did in this one is the tiger. There we go, and the tiger I went all out and tried a whole bunch of other things. I used the Neocolor 2s. I think I did this about 2 years ago. I did use the Neocolor 2 wax pastels in this. I used Inktense pencils. I used the mica infused twinkling H2O watercolors. I used just normal pencils as well. I used gel pens, and the paper, anything I threw on the paper, it was quite happy to take. I didn't have any problems or issues with it. And on the back there is very, very minor, and believe me, I really abuse this paper, very, very minor bleed through, which will be easily covered up when I colour this side. God, when I colour this side. I'll have to live another 100 years, I think, just to get through the colouring books that I've already got. Anyway, that's that one. I have got my latest books, which I love, and that's these 2 here. These 2 books are German. They are by Rita Berman. She has another 4 out, which is Summer, Autumn, Winter, Spring. These are the 5th and 6th in her collection. Die Welt unter der Lupe zur Wasser and Die Welt unter der Lupe zur Lande. And I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly because I did high school German and I was very bad at it. These 2 books, as you can see, they're smaller ones. I got this one first, so I'll show you this one. I love these because of the size. I've got the nice small size like the Good Wives and Warriors books were, but the binding is much better. It is bound, perfect bound with using signatures, which is the folded paper that's been sewn down, and they're great because they don't fall out. This one was the first one I got. Sorry, that's my phone number there, so you can't see that. I did this little title page here using Inktense pencils, and beautiful, no bleed through at all, lovely, not even a ripple. I mean, if you're going to do more of the paper, you will see a bit of a ripple because it's not watercolour paper, but it doesn't buckle very much at all, and it will take a few layers as well, which I'm really happy with. This one here is mostly done with watercolour with a few little added bits of gel pen, I think. Yeah, I'm not really happy with this one. I wish I'd done the background differently, but it is. I actually like the colours in this one. I just don't like how blotchy the background turned out. I could have done better with that, but at the time I was just throwing it in and having fun. But as you can see from watercolours, it does very well. You're just not going to get a smooth, large wash. That's all. So you'll have to build in some texture into your picture if you're going to use a large area of watercolour. And this one is an example of just that. I'm going to pull in a little bit because, there we are, that's better, because it's smaller books and you can see more that way. This was painted with the little koi watercolour sets that you can get. It's a little travel set, and mine has 24 different colours in it. And I used that one exclusively to do this, adding highlights and shading with pencils and with gel pen afterwards. And this is what I mean about texturing your background. I've watercoloured the background, but I've done it in such a way that it looks like waves going across. It disguises the fact that I can't get a smooth wash by deliberately adding a texture, which means something in the picture. This was good fun. I like these. They're fairly quick to do because it's such a small size book. This is another one I've done with watercolour, and I'll show you the colours I used. I've actually got them here. This was with my Winsor & Newton watercolours. These are not the professional quality, they're what they call the Cotmans, and this come in a set of 40 different colours with 5 extra replacement colours for the most used ones that you've got. And I like using these watercolours as a base layer and then putting a pencil over the top. So it changes the texture of the paper a little bit, so your pencil will look a bit grainier when you do it that way, but you can still buff it down. So that was done with those paints, and again with a bit of pencil over the top just to give it a bit more depth and shading. Done quite a few in this one. This was just a quickie. Yeah, again, not terribly fond of it, but it's okay. Then I've got this page, which is another double page spread, again using the same technique with the Cotman watercolours and pencil over the top. And I've thrown gel pen and I've thrown some ink tints on here as well, and possibly even some Neocolor 2s, but I can't really see it. And I've managed to achieve a bit of an ombre of this more of a cool greeny blue to a warmer sort of darker blue down the bottom. This took forever because there's so many little details to do, but it was fun. And this one is just with the Faber-Castell Polychromos. I think that's the last one I've done in this book. I've got to continue on and finish off this side. And my last book is this one. The other one, or the pair to the Under the Water one, which was On the Land. This one I haven't done any watercolouring in, I've mainly used pencils. I've got nothing else. No, I haven't. Okay, right. This one I used the Staedtler Ergosoft. This is fun. I used this page just to experiment with different colour combinations for the foliage and the berries. This one I'm not too fond of. I like the outside ring, but I think this is a bit of a mess. I kind of lost track of what colours I wanted to go where, and yeah, it was late at night. That's my excuse anyway. You can't always love what you do. This one, again, this side is with the Ergosoft and this side is with the Polychromos, and I actually like the Ergosoft better on this paper than the Polychromos pencils. This one I haven't put the white highlights in at present. When I add the white gel pen, it'll make it sparkle a little bit more, but to me right now it just looks still a little bit dull, but work in progress. This is my latest picture that I did in this book. I only finished this one a couple of weeks ago. Like this one, this is with the Polychromos pencils again. And this one with Polychromos pencils, this Flamingo. I want to go back and do the other side as well. It's just one of those ones when I really don't want to think too much about what I'm doing and I just want to do a pattern. And the last thing that I've got to show you is this one. The double page book. This was all done with the Staedtler Ergosoft pencils. Again, I wanted to experiment to see how many different shades of green I could create just using the 24 set. And I think there's a lot of variation there. I sort of combined greens with blues and greens with oranges and such to widen the spectrum of colours that I had to work with. Loved doing this one, really did. It was very, very relaxing. And again, being a small book, I could just throw it in a bag along with my Staedtler Ergosoft pack, which is, you know, probably about the same size as this Magic pack, and didn't take up much room, and I had this lovely book that I could colour in with good pencils wherever I went. Okay, well that wraps it up. All I have to show to you at present, it's not absolutely everything I've ever coloured, but it's pretty much the majority of it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to get back to you soon with more colouring videos. Until then, enjoy any of your colouring adventures that you're currently on, and happy colouring! Hope you're enjoying any colouring adventures that you are currently on, and until next time, happy colouring!